What impact will Kenya's new payout taxes have on the iGaming industry in East Africa and beyond?
Fabulous. So actually, Oliver did touch on this a little bit earlier, but let me introduce our amazing panel. As I say, moderator is myself, Lily Dowse. We have Frank Deya, the director of Betcoin.Social, Phillip Onyango, the managing partner of Onyango Co Advocates, and Purity Wahiu, the operations manager at Palms Bet. So amazing panel. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so to kick things off, Phillip, I think I'd like to start with discussing exactly what are the taxes which are occurring in Kenya right now that we're discussing about in the industry.
Oh, thank you very much for the question. Now, just in terms of background, how our tax legislation works is that every year we have a Finance Act that pretty much sets out how the government intends to raise revenue. So I will start with the most recent Finance Act that was enacted last year in 2023, which sets out how government is going to collect the revenue in 2024.
Okay.
So in that aspect, one of the key amendments they made is to the definition of winnings. Now, there used to be a lot of ambiguity behind what winnings or payouts are. So they clarified to say that these are any payouts made from a prize competition, from a bet, or from any sort of gambling, and excludes whatever was wagered or staked before that. Before, it used to be just a general definition of winnings. So what the tax authority would do, they would charge whatever tax on the entire winnings without considering what was actually staked before that. So now when you have those winnings, we actually have a withholding tax at the rate of 20% on the winnings. So that's the main tax that you'll get, a punter will get once they receive the winnings. Now, when they place a bet or when they place whatever wager, they pay, any punter will pay an excise duty at the rate of 12.5% on the amount actually wagered in that respect. And the Finance Act 2023 now added a provision that this must be remitted to the tax authorities within 24 hours. So that's why, if you remember my business partner Arnold talking about how these things has to be paid every 24 hours. That's something that was introduced last year. Now, when you look at on the other side, on the company itself, we have a general betting or gaming tax at the rate of 15% of the gross gaming revenue. So that's when the company makes whatever revenue after every month, 15% of that must be paid to the tax authorities by the 20th of the following month. Now, finally, within the company itself, you have the final corporate tax rate. So, which is now 30% on your net profit after you've removed all the expenses, including whatever was paid beforehand. And if you need to remit money to the shareholders or a foreigner, there's a 15% on that. So you'll see there's quite a lot in terms of tax compliance. And also, in order for the government to oversee how revenue is collected, you'll find that they've started a process of integrating the tax system with the company system, so that whenever a bet is placed, the tax authorities already know that you've received that. So that's some of the things that are in place within Kenya.
That is a lot of tax happening in one area. Wow.
Yes.
Okay. So Frank, let's discuss what could the consequences of this be.
Yeah. So this particular Finance Act also comes in with what they're calling a new gambling sort of proposal that is supposed to be passed by Parliament. And now on top of that, one of the things that it includes having at least 30% ownership of the betting company, being locally owned, right? And then, of course, like I said, integrating with the tax system, the Kenya Revenue Authority system, which essentially that means you have to now be registered, because there's a lot of iGaming platforms that prop up in Kenya specifically almost single day. It's almost very difficult to even keep up with the list of your competitors. So that means everyone has to be licensed. And even before that happens, they're also proposing that there's going to be a new body that oversees the running of the operations of the iGaming, betting, and casino industry. Now, the consequences might be in two sides, right? One is one which affects the players, which means that they might, with the increase in taxation and the need for it to be remitted within 24 hours, you'll find that most people might shy away from utilizing those platforms. And of course, like one of the panelists mentioned in the first panel, that more people now might prefer using offshore or unregistered platforms, right? And then, of course, this, of course, on the government side means more revenue, which can be looked at in a positive light if they're going to be able to utilize those funds well, right? And then now on the other side with the players and then the gaming platforms, that also means lower volumes in terms of the revenue that they collect. And there's always this assumption from government and regulators that betting companies are making a lot of money and they need to be taxed more. So if they can't make ends meet, that means they might end up shutting down or moving to other jurisdictions.
Wow, and Purity, in your opinion, are there any positives out there that we can take, or what is your stance on what's happening in terms of the taxations and the impact it could have on the industry?
Okay, thank you so much. When it comes to the Kenyan taxations and the high payouts, I would say it has set a clarity on the regulations, whereby we find the new policies are going to make the market to be more stable and predictable environment for all the iGaming investors as well. And also, it is a way of leveling up the consumer spending. That is on our punters, because we have now all our punters, at least now they are regulated. They'll not spend more, if at all they were spending more. And also, it will keep off the companies which were not like serious operators. So it has just set a new standard and making the Kenyan market to be the next market for anyone to invest, because it is more stable, getting more mature, and also getting more space for a serious market for the East African region, and also even on beyond in Africa.
Amazing. So, Philip, do you see that, like, in terms of the whole of Africa, that it will help to move more industry and more investments to Kenya? Or how do you see that kind of framework? Will it shift things, or will it attract more people to Kenya?
You see, something interesting about Kenya is that whatever measures or whatever things that are put within Kenya, you find that the region sort of follows the pace. So you find a lot of these taxes actually goes towards social development. So for example, some of these betting taxes or the lottery tax, it actually goes into a social development fund. And in Kenya, that's what's used, for example, to advance sports, culture, and everything. Because the assumption is that even though the betting companies are coming in to make money within that the industry, there's a benefit both from a revenue perspective and from a social perspective. And that also aligns with the objectives of the industry, because you see most players want to have some sort of CSR or sometimes some sort of SDG goals, like you sort of want to give back to the community. So that's something that within Kenya and within Africa is very much aligned with what's going to happen, and not just looking at it from the point of view that it's just a way of expensive revenue generating process. There's a lot more going behind that.
Amazing. And as we even touched upon yesterday, is gamers are going to keep gaming. It's not something that's really going to change. So just having this taxation, as you say, it can have such a positive impact on the region. So it's actually creating a good thing if some players might not be overly happy about it, but it can have some positives. And what balance do you think we can find? Because you said this happens quite regularly, that they update these the framework a little bit. So what balance do you think would be the best balance to find between the taxations and allowing the players to sort of retain their money? So let's go around with Frank. How would you imagine it?
Yeah, so I want to very quickly draw something similar that is also happening in Kenya about the crypto space, which is also a very big industry that I partake in. So we've never had any sort of regulations in terms of crypto in Kenya. So it's always been a gray area. It's not legal, it's not illegal to utilize or hold cryptocurrencies. It's only very recently that the industry itself has come together through the Blockchain Association of Kenya to draw up those sort of regulations and guidelines, educate the legislature, and get things moving in that direction. So I feel like also for the iGaming industry in Kenya, the balance should be not the government making assumptions and then imposing taxes and sort of limitations or kind of just stifling the operations. But then now the industry itself needs to kind of come together and self-regulate, push the agenda by themselves by giving and being very direct with the regulators and tell them, you know what, actually this is exactly how we should go, or this is the direction we should take, without working with assumptions, without feeling like someone is not being fair, right? So if we, as a sort of communities or ecosystem, come together and draw up something with the guidance of sort of the key leaders, then that should be one step towards trying to create some balance.
I like that idea. Self-regulation, so actually allowing the people that's operating in the space to create their own framework. I think that is a really good idea. And Purity, in terms of how operators can differentiate themselves in this space, how do you think that people can, with the increased competitive nature of the industry, how can people really stand out and mitigate the issues with the taxations?
For the operators, the best thing, like what we do to remain relevant in the market despite the high taxes that we experience, it's making sure that all our punters, they will have something like bonuses, like the other panel was mentioning. You have to come up with something that will make sure that at least you cap on the consumer spending, on whatever that they are able to spend on the platform in terms of the taxation. You come up with promotional materials that any consumer who comes to the website, they can be able to see that I can be able to recover on it. And also another thing is making sure that you're in compliance with all the taxation, because for Kenya, in case maybe in a day, maybe something has happened to your platform and the taxation don't go through, then you're in trouble with the revenue authority. And they usually do it like immediately. By the time you're waking up in the following day morning, you're getting an email that this one has not been remitted, and you need to do it immediately. So you have to make sure that your human resource as an operator, your technical team, and everyone involved in the development team, and you as an operator understand what is happening within your platform. The tax is remitted, because once you omit a single tax remittance in a day, then you're in trouble. So it makes sure that for you and your network or your punters to be on the safe side, you also have to know what is happening to your platform. So it has to be holistic. You have to come up with something that is favoring you as an operator, the regulator, the government, and also for your players to keep them coming in, because the competition is there and you have to level yourself up.
Amazing. And I think for all of you, let's just sort of kind of discuss, for anyone out there that's new to the African market, why does it have so much potential? What should they know about the market? And for them being attracted into the market, what are the positives going into the future? So let's start with Frank, and we'll work our way across.
Yeah, sure. I think one of the main advantages that the continent has is, quote unquote, time. Time, in the sense that we have one of the youngest overall populations, median populations, about 19, 20 or thereabout. So that means we're just starting to come out, and that means there's a lot of time for us to grow, to develop. Youthful population with a lot of infrastructure being built, particularly mobile and internet, presents a very big opportunity. Now, when we talk about these opportunities that are coming out, particularly because of technology, a lot of technology is being consumed by these young people still. I'm actually very bullish on young people and the internet, right? Because just recently, maybe about 10 years ago, we were talking about one of the biggest developments happening in finance being crypto and Bitcoin. And so far, it's also creating wealth, enabling young people who are coming from even jurisdictions that are very harsh to them, finding ways of elevating themselves, right? Right now, we're talking about AI, which is completely mind-boggling, right? And these are technologies that are going to be incorporated in the industry. So being bullish on the young population is one of the main fundamental things that I foresee. And I'm still going to just count on the youthful population, rise of infrastructure, technology, mobile, and the internet.
Incredible. And Purity, for anyone out there thinking about, moving businesses into Africa, what advice would you give them?
I'd say Africa is the next market that has gold, especially in the iGaming. And as my colleague has mentioned, the innovation and technology, like when you come to Africa, it is expanding so fast. I'll give example with Kenya. Right now, internet accessibility is almost everywhere. And that's why we can see the market is growing, and also the innovation of products. Initially, like 5 years ago, we only had sports betting, which was so popular. Currently, we have slot games, we have casino, online casino, we have the crash game, which just came the other day, and right now it's the next talk of the town. So we'll be having blockchain as well and the rest. So it is growing, and people are so eager to learn. With the technology that we have, it's so fast for people to grow in Africa.
I can feel the excitement.
Yeah.
And Phillip, any statements on that?
I think the key thing is the innovativeness of the region, and I think everyone is well aware that, for example, our region is a pioneer in terms of mobile money and looking for ways to actually get unbanked people into the financial system. So relying on that, you're able to see the potential that the continent has. So what I would advise people from other areas when they're coming to this place is that you can adopt some of the winning strategies from other areas and bring it here. And when you're the first person to do it, you'll be able to be the first person to make money out of it. And as you're coming in, don't observe the market. Get good advice, maybe from a tax perspective, from a legal perspective. And I think it's been mentioned that we are in that space, and that's what we do every day. And also, I'd like to even correct something that was said earlier. We do it according to the book and everything above, and we just use our connections, our sort of relationships that you've built over time to manage some of these processes. But when you do everything above board, you have no fear in terms of being shut down, because Africa has proper systems. You don't just come and take someone's property for no reason, anything. So if you do things above board and there's potential here, you're bound to make good money and a good business over here.
Yeah, so really the advice out there is not to panic about all this, the discussions of the taxations in Kenya, but actually see it as a positive, as a method of giving back and really driving innovation in these regions, which ultimately, the more we digitalize the world and bring these changes, it pushes the industry even more. If you give people more access to Wi-Fi, they can actually utilize the gaming aspect more. So it's actually overall a positive ecosystem.
Absolutely correct. Yeah. So there's a lot in this market that can be offered to investors.
Yeah, is there any closing comments for anyone? Is there anything powerful you want to say to our audience here at Sigma?
Yeah, so I think for the investment sort of personalities or VCs in the house, or anyone who's looking into setting up in the continent, I would quote unquote of course, this is not financial advice as well,
Yeah, no.
but I would highly recommend that you actually consider Africa. And of course, like we see, it's not a country. There are very different elements with every individual region that you go to, but then there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of hunger for, there's the market potential. There's a lot of talent. There's, literally anything that you might want to consider as a good investment, investment, whether you're going to Europe, Asia, or whatnot, you're going to find it in the continent, and you're going to find it maybe twice as much, because it's a very rich continent, and the potential is there in terms of labor, in terms of technology, infrastructure, and all that. So I would highly recommend that you consider setting up your operations here and putting in investments, because it's definitely going to pay off.
So thank you guys so much. Thank you. A huge thank you to our panelists. A big round of applause, everyone.
Thank you.
Wow.